Welcome to the Morning Report, a production of fightbackmedia.com, the #1 source of urban conservative information in America.
Well, good morning. My name is Willie Lawson, and welcome to the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com, and fightbacktv.com. We appreciate you being here today. Today is Monday, and in a lot of the country, we are on what they are calling fall break because it's Thanksgiving 4 days from now or 3 days from now. I'm going to be that guy for a second, if I may. And back in my day, only day we used to get off was Thanksgiving. They used to let us go home at 4 o'clock and eat dinner, but we had to be back at 5. Okay, that's not true, not quite true, but close enough. And now in Florida, students get the entire week off, like they have in a lot of the country for a long time. But whenever we have these things in education, I always sort of harken back to the days when I used to be a student, and then the days I used to be a teacher, or work in this system. And it always brings up a lot of the very same discussions or thoughts that I think about in education. So what I decided to have a little conversation, and I've had these conversations with Claude AI before. So I asked Claude AI this. Write this down. Number 1, share with me 3 critical considerations before pursuing a career in education. He came back with this. See if you agree. You can agree or disagree in the comments. I kind of agree. Number 1, your genuine passion for student development and learning. Teaching isn't just about subject expertise. It requires patience, adaptability, and a deep satisfaction from helping others grow. You will spend most days working with diverse learners who progress at different paces. Consider if you find genuine fulfillment in breaking down complex topics, celebrating small victories, and persistently supporting students through challenges. Number 2, the emotional and mental demands of the profession. Teaching extends far beyond classroom hours, always has, and always will. You will likely invest significant emotional energy on your students' your students' well-being, manage various behavioral challenges, handle parent interaction, and potentially cope with difficult situations affecting your students' lives. Additionally, you will need resilience and to handle the workplace stress, the administrative demands, and the responsibility of shaping young minds. Number 3, the practical realities of the career path. Research the specific requirements, salary ranges, advanced opportunities in your region. Consider factors like certification requirements, continuing education commitments, work-life balance, including evening grading and lesson planning, and whether the compensation aligns with your financial goals. And think about the various educational settings where you might work, where you could work. Public schools, private institutions, specialized education centers, or even corporate training. 3 things to consider. It often seems from the feedback that I get from people who are teaching that they didn't do any of this stuff. They didn't do any of it. And now a lot of them, unfortunately, hate their jobs and are bitter. Now, write down in the comments if you think that those 3 things are important. So I'm going to go on to section 2 of our discussion this morning. I asked Claude AI, I said, according to Walter E. Williams, schools of education across the U.S. are mostly responsible for underprepared teachers and their negative impact on student achievement. I asked Claude what Claude thinks. He said, let me approach this thoughtfully. Education quality and teacher preparation is a complex issue that deserves careful analysis. Some key considerations regarding school education. Content mastery often takes a back seat to teaching methodology in many education programs. Content mastery often takes a back seat to teaching methodology in many education programs. Think about what that means. That means that math teachers or people teaching math, people teaching language arts, people teaching science, people teaching physical education, people teaching music, whatever it is, don't know enough about their subject. While pedagogy is, and that knowledge is important, teachers who lack a deep subject matter expertise may struggle to effectively convey concepts or answer complex student questions. Again, a math teacher who only knows the procedural aspects, but not the underlying principles, will likely be limited in their ability to help students truly understand the material. And there's also a valid criticism that the rigor of many education programs compared to other academic disciplines is a problem. Data has shown that education majors tend to have lower average SAT, ACT scores, and GPAs in their content area compared to peers majoring directly in those subjects. This can translate to gaps in subject expertise. Now, some people will say this, and I understand. They don't think that the schools of education are solely responsible. Other factors may, of course, impact teacher preparation and student outcomes. Compensation and recruitment. Lower teacher salaries in many regions may actually deter high-achieving candidates from entering the profession. We're going to talk about that this morning, or cause them to leave for better-paying jobs. This creates a cycle where the schools struggle to attract and retain top talent. There's often, that professional development and support. Even well-prepared new teachers will need an ongoing mentoring and resources and opportunity to improve their craft. Many school districts lack a robust support system. Systemic challenges, issues like large class sizes, limited resources, a broader socioeconomic factors affecting student readiness to learn and can hamper even skilled teachers' effectiveness. And a lot of people who are my friends have taught in those schools where the kids get there, in elementary schools, get there, and you say, so what is your mommy's name? Mommy. Where do you live? In a house? Do you know your address? No. How about your phone number? No. Can you count to 10? No. Do you know your ABCs? No. Well, even as a first grade teacher, you are behind the 8 ball at that point. You're not. So all the advanced pedagogy that you learned about teaching, first graders or 6-year-olds goes out the window when you don't have that basic things, when they don't know their shapes or colors or their numbers to 10 or 20, their alphabet. You can throw a lot of that pedagogy away. So I get it. Please understand that I understand. But this isn't about me understanding. This is about what are we going to do about it, right? So rather than just, of course, me just critiquing the education schools, I had to come up with something. We mentioned that lower ACT and SAT scores and the lack of content mastery. That's what really gets me. So my thought is that it is the mission of the teacher to teach those students that are in front of them. I think we all learn that. If there are gaps, then it's up to the teacher, not the school district, to fill in the content mastery that may be lacking. Most students will only go as far as most teachers can take them. In most other disciplines, preparation to accomplish the mission seems paramount. Education, not so much. I've not yet met a teacher that says college prepared them for being a classroom teacher. I know that for myself. I asked them, so what did you learn in college about this mess? Nothing. Nothing at all. I think the mission is especially powerful because we wouldn't accept a surgeon saying, well, a hospital should provide better training when they struggle with the procedure, or an engineer blaming their company when their bridge calculations are incorrect. Teachers must own their professional responsibility to master their content. The stakes are this children's education and future opportunities are too high to deflect its responsibility. I don't get paid enough for that. So the current situation creates a troubling cycle. Teachers with knowledge gaps struggle to teach effectively, leading the students to similar gaps, some of which who become teachers themselves, perpetuating the problem. Now, when we consider that a teacher's content knowledge ceiling effectively becomes their students' ceiling, this becomes even more concerning. Before I do that, in my own life now, as a private music instructor, I find myself constantly looking at and for things to increase my knowledge. Now, I've been teaching saxophone and flute and clarinet for almost 40 years, since 1985. And I am constantly looking for things to tell my students that maybe I didn't know before, and trying to find new ways of explaining, new ways of demonstrating. Because what I know is that they're never gonna know more than I can tell them. They're never going to be able to do more than I can prepare them for. Now, of course, like every student, they take what you give them and then they can develop that and move on. Yes. But if I can't prepare them for the next thing, that even like I mostly have middle school and high school kids. If I'm not preparing my high school kids to do well at the next level, maybe if they decide to take on music as a career and want to go into music school, my job is to prepare them for that, to make them ready to accept and understand and assimilate all the new stuff. And in order to do that, I have to be ready for that. I have to prepare myself first and then prepare them. It's like, okay, so when the plane is crashing, the mask comes down. I got to take that mask first. And then I can put it on my student. Okay? I think that's important. Because here's the deal. Medical residents spend years under supervision before practicing independently. The years in college, and then the years in medical school, and then the residencies, right? It may be 10 years. Maybe 10 years after you get your BS, before maybe 10 years before you are left alone with a patient that you are solely responsible for. 10 years. Pilots have to accumulate hundreds of hours of supervised flight time. So I mean, even if you go to Emory-Riddle, this great aeronautical school, and there are a couple of more, and you leave there with your private pilot's certificate, and you may leave there with your instrument rating. You may leave there with your rating to fly multi-engine aircraft. You might. You are still a long way, bro, from flying with Delta, with real live paying customers in the back. On a Airbus 320 Neo, you are a long way from that. You're a bunch of hours away from that. Engineers who build bridges and buildings and things, public conveyances, you don't get that job without a whole bunch of passing a whole bunch of rigorous licensing exams. You're a long way. So you don't go to you don't go to the University of Central Florida, get your degree in engineering, and then suddenly you're building bridges. You're not. You're a long way from that. But in education, you manage to, maybe even by the skin of one's teeth, to graduate, suffer through, skate through an internship. And some schools do this. And let me know if you are in this, what your school did. Some schools do this. I know there's a school here that's not far from where we are that takes your semester 15-week internship and splits it into 7.5 week periods, where you may have a elementary portion and a high school portion. Even if your thought is, I want to teach middle school, or I want to teach elementary school, and you're in elementary school, and then 7.5 weeks in, they pull you out of that one and put you in high school, and you don't have any. You don't want to teach high school. Not everybody does that. Some people do that. I'll never understand why. Now you may change, because you may change your mind. I don't know, but there's your, and in both situations, whether you go 7.5 and 7.5, or you go the whole fifth, the whole semester, it is up to your supervising teacher on how much you actually do. And some of you who are teachers, have been teachers, who said, I had a great internship. I had a great supervising teacher. I got to do this, 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 this. But an equal number of you will say, my internship experience taught me one thing. I don't want to teach. But I'd gone too far. My supervising teacher didn't really want to do it. I didn't get to do anything. Kids were terrible. And then, everybody's got their nightmare stories. Everybody does. So how do we make changes in the current system that could do a couple of things? My thought is that maybe an extended courses requiring supervision and more rigorous licensing. Yes, I'm going to make it more difficult. This, of course, will require districts to increase compensation, of course, and this will strongly attach student achievement to compensation in collective bargaining, and allow teachers to act as free agents. Teachers would be able to negotiate their own pay based on their skills, their certifications, and their student achievement history. I know. Some people's eyes just blew out of their head. I know. Claude likes my idea. He says that my proposal represents a fundamental shift that aligns education more closely with performance-based professions and market dynamics. And I want to concentrate on this phrase: performance-based professions. Teachers often like to consider themselves professionals. Yes, I understand. Now, I'm not harping on teachers in this video. I'm not. What I want to do is talk about. I want to be able to have an open discussion and have everything on the table. Have everything on the table. This changes the whole thing. This takes the whole teaching thing and tosses it up in the air and says, no, we're gonna do this a completely different way. Extended supervised training and rigorous licensing would raise the bar for entry and likely improve the quality, similar to medical residency programs. This would mean fewer but better prepared teachers entering the classroom. This current system of brief student teaching followed by an immediate full classroom responsibility seems inadequate for such a crucial profession. again, you guys have these internships, right? You have the internships, and then you manage to get a job, which the college did not help you get. And you go off and you are at, Podunk Elementary School in Paducah, Kentucky, or wherever. And the first day is, you go there and you go to all the preschool training and you do all that stuff, and you think that you're prepared because they let you put some posters up in your room, and you talk to your supervisor. I mean, you talk to your teacher mentor possibly at your school, and sit through some meetings, and you're not sure what anybody talking about, but you get to put some stuff up in your room, and you're all ready. Your room looks great, and then the kids come in, and you have your first lesson plan, and you think you are ready, and something happens in the first 15 minutes of your very first day, and you realize, I am not ready for this. I don't have the training for this. I don't. And it could be anything. It could be anything as benign as you're in elementary school, and in that third grader just peed themselves, and everybody saw it. And now your class is done, 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 done. Right? Right? And I don't mean to be vile or crass, because all these scenarios have happened, and I either heard about them or actually experienced them myself, where you are in a middle school classroom and this 13-year-old girl gets her period for the first time, and guess what? Your lesson plans are done, 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 done. Right? Or you're in high school and a fight breaks out in your room on the first freaking day of school. And the first thing you think is, nothing that I paid for, or that I'm paying that student loan on, has prepared me for this nonsense, right? So maybe an extended supervised training, similar to a medical residency, may not be such a bad idea, right? May not be such a bad idea. Even if it comes with some more rigorous licensing. And what I mean by that is, a lot more work in your content area to improve your content mastery. I know. Just work with me here. Again, this would mean fewer people try this, or use education as a last resort. Well, I was in college, and it was my senior year. I had to declare a major, so I decided education, right? Because I heard it was easy. I heard more than one of my PE coaches in high school say that, right? Now, here's my free agent model. Think about this. It would allow exceptional teachers to be compensated based on their actual impact and abilities. Not just okay, you managed not to get fired. It creates incentives for continuous improvement and specialization. So as you get more certifications in this, and this, and this, you can use that to negotiate salary. So you decide to get a master's, you decide to get a doctorate, you decide to get there's all sorts of other certifications that are available, blah blah blah, whatever you decide to get. Now you can use that resume to determine your salary. It enables schools to compete for top talent, because now there's not this, this union thing, this collective bargaining thing. So if you're at Podunk Elementary School and you want to get a job at Hotzi Totzi, Hotzi Totzi says, "Hey, listen, here's what we can offer you." So now they're competing, or just the opposite, right? It pushes underperforming teachers to improve to improve or get out. I don't know. I won't ever mention any names, but I have sat in enough TPAs, teacher planning areas, to hear teachers complain about other teachers in their own departments when they get students from that teacher who are not ready. Part of the problem is that it bugs them because that teacher who's not preparing students may have more seniority and may actually be getting paid more. Yeah, that bugs people. It bugs the crap out of people. Teachers. So I know ending collective bargaining in favor of individual negotiation would be controversial at the least, but could address a key problem currently. Exceptional teachers often earn the same same as mediocre ones, simply based on their years of service. You just manage to not get fired. So a market-based approach would reward demonstrated excellence. Now, the hard part is this, and I know, and you heard it coming. The hard part is this: defining and measuring student achievement fairly. Fairly. Could we use standardized test scores? I know a lot of people hate that. How about student growth metrics? Multiple measures, including classroom observations, long-term student outcomes, standardized test scores. They can be rigged and may not be, it's a single facet of a multifaceted situation on teacher effectiveness, but something that can be used. Student growth metrics. I think it's important to measure where students are when they come in, when they come to you, and when they leave you. Did they grow? Let's say a perfect student test score used to be on a test called the FCAT here in Florida. A perfect score was a passing score was a 300. If the student came to you or came to me and their last FCAT score was a 220, and when they left me, it was a 270, that was growth. We're headed the right direction. We're using that standardized test score and combining it with a growth metric. Maybe an AP or a mentor teacher comes in and observes my teaching. Am I using teacher methods that are working with the students I have in front of me? Can we follow that student from my classroom when they started at a 220 to the next 2 years or the next year, and they get a 350 on that test? That the long-term student outcomes are good. So, and this is important because any compensation system that's tied to student achievement needs to be reliable. So we need to be, first of all, I think it needs to be long-term. I think it needs to be multifaceted. Fair metrics that don't incentivize teaching to test or avoiding challenging student populations. I get it. So the idea is that this guy, what we just talked about doesn't teach to the test. It doesn't teach to the test. It uses test scores. You could use GPAs, but it's the growth that matters here in my system, right? My system is just a system, right? And then we watch that student long term. So now what people are going to say is that, well, in teaching, you can't always tell what your raw material is and how they were prepared. And there's, and some of these have bad socioeconomic and their parents don't care. And, Now, if you're a sales professional, your boss doesn't give a rip about the economy or market conditions or your territory is tough for consistently poor performance. The professional either finds a way to succeed or they find a new career. I know that seems harsh, doesn't it? So similarly, while teachers certainly they face challenges with student backgrounds, resources, socioeconomic factors, the best educators find ways to move students forward despite the obstacles. We've seen it. We've seen it too often in a lot of situations. In the poor rural schools, in the inner city situations, we find that rose in the sidewalk. So a multi-metric evaluation approach makes sense because it provides a more complete picture of student effectiveness. It reduces the risk of gaming any single measure. It accounts for different teaching contexts and student populations. It rewards both the best absolute achievement and student growth. So just as the top salespeople command higher compensation through proven results, imagine a system where a teacher who consistently achieves strong student growth across multiple years, demonstrates deep subject expertise, knows their stuff, shows innovation in teaching methods because they keep studying, they keep learning, takes on challenging student populations because there's an incentive then to take on the challenging student populations. Why? Because then you can show the most growth. And if you have a passion for making or having students understand stuff that didn't before and breaking down complex things, you want the more challenging populations, right? They can mentor other teachers. They could negotiate compensation reflecting on their value and their impact. It's like athletes who play for a team and they just make the players around them better. It's like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan just makes everybody better around him. Imagine having a teacher going to an elementary school, in the ghetto, and being able to make other teachers around them better. This would transform teaching from what is often treated as a uniform service into a truly professional career. Right now, it's a uniform service. You put the suit on and into a professional career with meaningful differentiation based on skills and results. It would likely attract more high achievers to the profession who currently avoid it due to its limited earning potential and recognition of excellence. The key shift is moving from viewing teaching as an input-based profession, years served, credentials acquired, that managed not to get fired, to an output-based one. Student achievement, growth, and success. What do you think? My name is Willie Lawson. This has been The Morning Report. The Morning Report, again, is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.